Today I'm interviewing the owner of this Audi A4 B5. Now you never see these in this kind of condition anymore, and this one wasn't always this nice. In fact, it sat in a garage for over 10 years, rotting away, and now the owner has brought it back and is enjoying it as his daily driver around the city, even in the winter. So today I'm going to interview him to find out why he decided to spend so much money and time fixing this old, sort of mundane to some, car up. So right here is the owner. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Blaine.
And this is your, well, I guess not new to you, but kind of new to you, Audi A4, right?
Yes.
So tell me about the story of this car. Why did you decide to save it?
I was looking for another winter driver. The last one I had was front wheel drive. I wasn't really happy with it. First front wheel drive I've ever owned. Wasn't really standing up to what I needed in the winter. So I'd put my mind to it that I wanted to find an inexpensive all-wheel drive car that had a couple of specifications. One of them was that it had to fit the same studded tires that I had on my previous car, which at 15 inches is pretty tough. And I also wanted something that was old enough that it came stock with a cassette deck, as I have a pretty large cassette collection.
And this is what fit the bill.
Yeah, I spoke it and a friend of mine presented it to me.
So why did you decide that this was the car? Because surely there's quite a few options that fit that criteria.
Well, I grew up in a small town. There weren't a lot of German cars. I remember specifically I was on a road trip down to Southern Ontario, and I was on the highway and I saw a B5 wagon for the first time ever, and it blew my mind. I've always wanted one. And when I started looking for a new winter car, I wasn't specifically looking for one of these, but a friend of mine had gone to look at it about a year earlier. It was significantly disassembled with the entire engine taken apart. And he let me know about it, and I went to go take a look at it. And I thought maybe this is something I could put together.
And what kind of condition was it in when you found it?
It had been living on jack stands and wheel dollies for probably over 10 years in a garage. The entire front end was taken off. The head was missing. A number of other components were missing, and the whole front left corner knuckle axle were all disassembled.
So it had been like an accident, or what had gone wrong to put it in that position?
Well, this car doesn't really have head gasket issues. So when you see the head off of one of these, the usual suspect is the timing belt went. So when I went to go look at it, it was clear the timing belt had snapped. The original owner had taken the head apart, stripped it. It was ready to be reassembled, and they just never got past that point.
Does that happen to a lot of these?
I think originally when this car came out, the manufacturer had suggested a much higher timing belt interval. And then I think they rectified that when they realized a lot of people were snapping timing belts. So when I went to go look at this, it was pretty clean. I didn't know what the mileage was because it hadn't had a battery hooked up in ages, but you could tell by the fact that the belt had snapped. I was guessing it was between 120 and 150,000 kilometers.
And then you bought the car sort of knowing all of these problems. You said, I still want it. Why?
Well, this isn't my first A4. I have another one that's a little bit newer than this, and I had rebuilt the engine, built it with a forged bottom end and a big turbo kit and a lot of other upgrades. So I know my way around the 1.8T relatively well. This engine is the early 1.8T design, so it has a lot of differences, but I figured I could figure it out.
And you sure did. I mean, here is the car. It's running, it's fixed up, and you're driving it daily, right?
Yes. So luckily I have two friends who between them have 3 B5s as well. So part of the reason I took this project on was one of my friends had 2 spare heads, which I knew I could acquire very quickly. My other friend had a lot of other stock parts as he's got 2 B5s. So between my friends and my previous history rebuilding another one, I realized I could probably put this together in a normal amount of time.
How long did it take you to fully restore the car back to running condition?
When I initially purchased it, I had to spend about 2 days just reassembling components so I could get it lowered onto the ground. and sitting on its own wheels so we could roll it on a trailer. From the time I took delivery to the time that it was drivable was 1 month.
1 month?
Yeah.
It's pretty quick, honestly.
It could have been a little bit quicker. I had a couple of setbacks, one of them being when I did the inventory of all the parts. This was a basket case when I bought it. When I did the inventory, it was missing the crankshaft timing gear and the camshaft timing gear, both of which are pretty important. The strange thing is, when I bought this car, it came with a lot of new parts, and it came with a receipt from a US supplier dated about 10 years ago. And on that receipt, there was a new camshaft timing gear and crank timing gear. So the original owner lost both of them for some reason, bought new ones. Those ones are still missing when I bought the car, and one of them is no longer available, and I ended up having to find one at a scrapyard.
Wow. So you pulled it out of a scrapyard to save it?
Well, part of the reason that I went into this project as well was I was at the scrapyard about 2 weeks before looking at this, helping a friend get parts, and we found a matching one with the front end taken off and nothing had been removed from the engine. So I knew that I had a template that I could go and steal ideas from and learn where everything went together.
So you literally learned how to put it back together thanks to one sitting in a scrapyard at like Pick and Pull.
Oh, for sure. It was at Bucks.
Okay.
And I did a lot of visits there, getting extra pieces that I needed that weren't included with this. And I took a lot of videos walking around the front end and putting camera angles underneath everything just so I could figure out where everything went.
Yeah. So what is it about this generation that attracts you to this car? You know, you have another one, the B6. Why do you like this one for your daily use more?
You know what? The B6 is not ideal for city driving now that I've put a big turbo kit on it. It's great for highway driving, but stop and go traffic, not the most fun. Also, this is a 5-speed manual transmission. It's a lighter car, it's peppy, the gearing is great for city driving, and you know, it's got a tune on it. It came with that. So it's a fun car to drive.
So do you mind if we pop the hood and then we'll take it for a spin?
Sure.
Let's see what's under this. All the work you've done to it. I love the color too. What is this color called?
It's called Brilliant Yellow.
Brilliant. It is brilliant. Very brilliant. It's also immaculate how little rust is on the car.
Well, it was a US car. The odometer is in miles. It's relatively low mileage, and like I said, it sat in somebody's garage for at least 10 years, maybe more.
Wow. Wow, you really put it back together. It looks new. I mean, that's incredible. No rust I can see anywhere. Very little corrosion too.
Yeah. Luckily, I was able to find some of the parts I was missing squirreled away at a Volkswagen dealership in Vancouver. They were able to send me the parts pretty quickly. So finding the missing engine components set me back about a week and a half from completing this. And then I had a dead fuel pump that took a little while to diagnose as well.
Now, do you have any more plans for upgrades or things in the future?
I've already upgraded the engine mounts. I've put a billet transmission cross brace underneath. I have a full exhaust. I have a larger turbo and a manifold ready to go in. And I also have a high flow cat. And other than wanting to put a rear sway bar on, I'm probably going to leave it like that.
Wow. Do you mind if we get a started and take it for a ride?
Sure.
Now, before we go for a ride, I just want to thank Uniden for sponsoring this video. If you drive your car and you like to go fast, or at least like to know what's going on around you in terms of police, medical services, other things, this is really useful. You probably already know what it is, but it's a radar detector. It's legal in almost every state and legal in several provinces in Canada. So if you want to get one, link is in the description. I like this radar detector. I think it's probably the best on the market. They've got a lot of different options. This is the R4 Extreme. They have the R7, which is the most common. And if you really want to get up there, they have the R8W. So if you want one, link is in the description. Go get one. So now we are in the A4. I have to say, I really like this interior of that older era where everything was buttons and manual parking brake. You don't get that in modern Audis.
No, I like my cars simple so you can focus on the driving experience rather than being distracted with touch screens and things like that.
I mean, this is just like the perfect Audi sedan. Perfect size, so simple. Oh, I've noticed you got a boost gauge in here. That's not stock.
No, it's not, and the car's not stock either. I knew the first time that I took it for a test drive, once I got it put together, that it was running higher boost than stock. There was also the fact that there was larger injectors installed in it. I didn't know how much it was boosting though, so I realized it'd be a really good idea to put a boost gauge in here, just so I can keep an eye on it and have an idea of what kind of tune might be on it.
How much horsepower do you think you're pushing right now?
Oh, this is probably maybe 200 horsepower.
Maybe. But it's fun to drive?
Yeah, oh, it's a blast for city driving.
So is this your daily in town, and then the B6 is your like weekend car?
I haven't winter driven the B6 for 2 winters now. I want to get some paint repairs done on that, and that's strictly going to be a summer vehicle moving forwards.
And then this one's going to do the winter duty.
This one is going to do the winter duty. I have another winter driver that I haven't sold yet, so I've been alternating between the two of them.
How do you keep it from rusting out? Because we're in Canada, obviously, and cars are famous for rusting.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm getting rid of my other winter car, is because of rust. So I have some plans on doing some paint correction, getting a little bit of body work done, and then once that's all taken care of, I'd like to do some rust proofing, maybe some ceramic coating under the vehicle, and I'm also interested in getting some paint protection film done too.
Nice. You gonna keep the brilliant yellow?
Of course.
Did you know about this color when you were searching for one of these?
No, I didn't actually know this was a color. It's fairly rare. A lot of people I talked to are aware of it and knew about it, but I grew up in a small town that didn't have very many German cars, so relatively didn't have any exposure to German cars until I was almost 25.
So for someone that's in a similar situation, young, wants a car like this one day, do you have any advice or tips in life or car related wise?
Older cars take a lot of work. Things get old, things need to be replaced, and things are hard to find because they're no longer made anymore. So you have to be resourceful, you've got to be creative, and I think if you're going to do your own work on your own car, you have to be comfortable with going past the point of no return, because that's happened on virtually every one of my car builds where I'm trying to replace something goes wrong, and I've backed myself into a corner where I have to figure it out to get my car back on the road, or else it's not happening, because I'm not going to be able to take it somewhere to get it fixed. So figure it out yourself.
Now, when you were young, did you dream of owning a car like this, or cars just something you kind of fell into?
I've always dreamed of owning cars. As a kid growing up in the 80s and the 90s, it was pretty standard that everybody had those supercar posters on their wall. So I had Ferrari F4 B5 posters, I had Lamborghini Countach posters on my wall. That was the era when everybody had posters, and it's crazy because now there's so many supercars out there. How do you even choose which one you want to put on your car or on your bedroom wall?
Yeah. Now it's the Instagram feeds and the YouTubes.
Yeah, and I think there's something great about having a poster on your wall and just dreaming about that. And it's crazy because, like I said, I grew up in a small town. There weren't any exotic cars around. And now on a daily basis, I get to work around some of those cars that I had on posters that I never thought I'd get to see in real life.
So speaking of work, what do you do for a living?
I work for an automotive shop as a service advisor. They also have a performance department that focuses on upgrades, custom wheels and tires, exhaust, suspension, everything.
So what's the craziest car you've worked on?
The craziest car I've seen is one that we talked about maybe the first time I met you. It was a Lamborghini Miura SV.
Wow.
That's been my favorite car that I've seen so far. We haven't worked on it, but it was next door to us. I got to take a look at it, and I genuinely never thought I'd ever get to see one of those live.
Yeah. So when you work on exotics all day long, do you still enjoy your A4?
100%. there's something to be said about having cars that you're not worried about too much. So I can drive this somewhere. If somebody hits it with the door in a parking lot, it's not the end of the world. I like being able to buy cars in cash as well. And I enjoy the idea of buying a car with the purpose of driving it, not hoping that it's going to be an investment and be scared about putting too many miles on it. I want a car that's inexpensive, almost disposable, but something that's fun to drive as well.
Yeah, amen, man. Buying cars in cash. I agree with you 100%. We'll never finance a car. Maybe one day, but I have no plans right now. I think this is the way to go. Just buy a car you can own.
Well, buying a car with cash means you can probably afford to fix it too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this interview. I appreciate your time. You took time off work to do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to go be in one of these videos, you can actually apply. The link is in the description. There's a form you fill out, and maybe I'll come and do a video with you on your car and why you love it. In the meantime, never quit on your dreams, and remember, God loves you. See you in the next video.